Hey, it's Sheeta from Sheeta's on the Loose, and today I'm talking to you about the differences in retiring in the US versus retiring overseas. We're talking pros and cons, we're talking everything you need to know. If you don't know me, I'm Sheeta from Sheeta's on the Loose, and I am a career break coach. I retired early, I live in Mexico City, and I love it here, and I am an advocate of people moving to the place that will fill them with joy. Mexico City is my place, and so on my channel, I talk about Mexico City a lot, but today we're talking about retirement in general. But first, what are the benefits of retiring in the US? You have your people, you have your network, you have your comfort zone. It's right there. It's probably one of the simpler ways to retire. Not necessarily the easiest, but possibly the simplest. Some of the disadvantages of retiring in the US: it's more expensive in a lot of the other countries. And that is not just your day-to-day expenses, but also expenses like assisted living and healthcare and all of the things that get more expensive as you're getting older. They're naturally getting more expensive in the US as inflation kicks in and because US healthcare expenses dwarf the healthcare expenses in any other country. Now, what are the benefits for retiring overseas? Now, this applies to the regular age retirees and early retirees. I'm talking to both of you today. One is that you get new experiences. I know for a lot of people, it sounds so scary to move abroad and you don't know what's going to happen. But part of that is that you get to decide what happens, right? You get to decide what your day's like because you're not bogged down by your old network. You can do anything you want. And if you can move anywhere you want, you get to choose the cost of living of the place you're moving to. You can decide by healthcare costs. Maybe you want to move somewhere that has low healthcare costs or that has a public healthcare system that you can join after being there, right? So if you get a long-term residency visa there, or if you're able to get citizenship there, maybe you can join the public healthcare system and you no longer have to worry about healthcare costs. That, unfortunately, is not going to happen in the US. So it's one of the best reasons to retire overseas. And not only is the healthcare overseas cheaper, it's often better because you can see the doctors you want to see and you're not bogged down by the systems that the US has created for healthcare. As I said before, you get to decide what life you want to live when you're overseas. You get to decide what experiences you have. I've decided this year I want to learn to play tennis and I want to go horseback riding frequently. I can do both of those things within just a few miles of my home in Mexico. I don't know that I would have even considered doing those things if I was still living in the Bay Area. Because you get to decide to move anywhere you want, you get to decide what is the most important factor for you when you move abroad. Do you want a place with a low cost of living? Or is healthcare the most important thing to you? Or is weather the most important thing to you? And then you can decide which one of those factors is going to lead you on your search for the right place to live. So what are the disadvantages of moving abroad? I can tell you for me that I've experienced a few disadvantages living in Mexico City, but not major ones. Every once in a while, there's something I want to buy that is going to cost me a lot more than I would pay in the US. So for me in Mexico, a lot of those things are electronics. I need a new humidifier for my home and a new air purifier because in Mexico City, those things are kind of important. And I'm paying probably twice as much as I would pay in the US. It is what it is. Overall, I'll still pay a lot less to live down here, even paying twice as much for electronics or whatever that number is. I'll still pay a lot less to live down here overall than I would be paying in the US. Moving abroad takes some research. You want to know a little bit about the political climate of the place you're moving to. You're not just throwing a dart at a map, because you want to know that over the long term, there's some stability in the politics, in the economy, and so that the place you're moving to isn't going to be a completely different place 6 months from then or a year from then. Another disadvantage of moving abroad is that you might need to learn another language But we could flip that to an advantage because once you learn this language, you can take it with you to multiple other countries, most likely. And so if you learn a popular language, I'm down here and I'm trying to learn as much Spanish as I can. Once I do that, I can go to any Spanish speaking country and, get around there. So that disadvantage, I think, is also an advantage. It's going to push you a little bit to learn something new, but that's something new that will benefit you for the rest of your life. So when it's time to retire, should you move abroad or should you stay in the US? I've never really heard someone who moved abroad say, I wish I stayed in the US. What I typically hear from some people is that they chose the wrong country the first time and they'd rather be somewhere else. If you need help deciding which retirement destination is perfect for you, grab my retirement guide below in the description, and that'll give you information about some of the top retirement destinations. I hope this helps, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.